All right, are we back live? Okay.
Test. Yep.
All right, we're returning to our meeting. It's 3:50. Thanks for coming in, Laura. You're interviewing for the Environmental Advisory Committee.
That's correct.
And there are, just to let you know on that, there's 3 openings on that committee that we're trying to fill.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, thanks for coming. I'll start off, the council will ask you, the committee will ask you questions, but my first one is, why are you interested in the environmental committee?
And I apologize, I'm getting over a cold, so my voice is a little creaky. The environment is a passion of mine. When I moved here 3 years ago, my bucket list specifically was to work with Audubon on the Shorebird Stewardship Program and also with the IOP Turtle Team. And I was able to complete my 3rd year as a shorebird steward with Audubon this past year, and I've been with the Turtle Team now for 2 years. I also completed the South Carolina Coastal Master Naturalist Program, which was a 13-week in-depth look at everything there is to know about the coast, South Carolina coast specifically. And I finished that in December, actually, of last year. And I did that because I've never lived in a place like this in my entire life. I've always lived in big cities and in inland, and this type of an environment was so new and so wonderful that I wanted to know more and more about it. So that's my long story about my environmental passion and interest, and that would obviously translate into hopefully helpful things that I can bring to the advisory committee.
We'll open it up to the rest of the committee.
Okay. Hi, Laura. How you doing?
Hi, good, Rusty.
Good. You also, I don't think you mentioned this, but you also been pretty heavily involved, I know particularly this past year, with Beach Advocates meeting, attending that
Yes,
and being a part of that.
Yes,
So
the Beach Advocates.
how has that
yes.
experience worked out for you?
It was really impactful, and I wish I could have even done more with the going to more of the meetings. I got asked kind of at the last minute to attend that last day, and I really learned a lot, especially with regards to the accretion and erosion aspects of our beaches. And that was actually part of our Master Naturalist. One of the whole days that we spent was learning about accretion and erosion of our beaches and how important it is to learn the right ways to protect the beaches without doing more harm down the road, which is what some of the bigger, more structured types of enforcements can do. So I enjoyed the environmental committee meeting very, very much.
And my follow-up on that also is on the Environmental Advisory Committee, have you attended or watched
Yes.
some of those meetings?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And as you know, it's a lot of ideas, high-spirited group.
Yes,
They got a good leader with John Bogosian
right.
being the liaison between council and them. But that being said, and you've served on committees and commissions and that sort of thing before, and certainly other things like the Turtle Team. As you know, it's gonna be some opportunities there for group collaboration and discussion. How do you go about building consensus when you're a part of a team with others?
Oh, it's imperative that we build consensus. There's a lot of things to start to tackle, and we can't just push. We have to collaborate. We have to be able to work together and figure out, the best way to move forward with some of the environmental things that need to be taken care of. I mean, the environment is really 95% of what people come here for. And the beaches and the water are imperative to our way of life and to tourism and to the people that live here. So collaboration on any type of project is imperative.
Thank you.
Are there any projects, big or small, that you have in mind that you're most passionate about that you might bring to the environmental?
One of the things that I've started to get more interested in and educated on is the whole aspect of the sewer system versus septic tanks. And kind of the sleeping problem that I see down the road that's going to need to be addressed here. And it's not going to be something that can be handled quickly. But we have to start to find ways to make the steps to move forward, to move the community away from a septic system to sewer. The other thing, in my experience with the Shorebird Steward Program, is we have leash laws in effect in the summer that are different from right now. But I would like to see possible collaboration with expanding the leash laws to be even longer in duration, like from May 1st to Labor Day. We have migratory seabirds that are very vulnerable and they're threatened species. They nest right on top of the sand, and even with dogs off leash from 6 to 9 a.m., we work so hard to educate people, but there's always problems with the dogs not being corralled by their owners. And these birds are threatened species, and I want to see them protected better. I also think that I think there's been some discussion, if not actual action, on the electric bicycles on the beaches in the summer. I think they should be not allowed also from like May 1st to Labor Day.
Those are pretty specific things.
Yeah, well,
That's good.
that's the prime time. And it's not just for, birds and turtles, but and the bicycles specifically, for the kids and for the families, it can be a real problem because those electric bikes can go 25. They're like a motorized vehicle.
There. All right, well, thank you.
All right, well, I certainly see your passion. So again, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
When the advisory committee gets together and we start to work on action items, how does that then translate to getting to the actual council as an actual action item for consideration?
Well, it's brought, any specific items are brought through the liaison and Douglas to council, and then council
Okay.
would vote on it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, when there's an actual recommendation from the committee, it's placed on an agenda for council to
so
consider.
it is placed on the agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, great. And the meetings are every other month or every month?
Every month.
Every month.
Every month.
Yeah,
Third
Yeah.
Thursday.
Third Thursday?
yeah.
Sometimes it's been the second or the third.
Okay,
Second Thursday.
okay. Are there any other questions you have for me?
No, thanks for coming in. And the
Okay.
process
Thanks,
is
Mike.
that we'll make recommendations on the nominees to the council on December the 5th, and then the vote to approve those will take place on January the 2nd,
Okay,
right?
and then I would just be
And then
notified.
we will be, whoever's selected and voted on by council, will be contacting them for a quick orientation and
Okay.
just some background to help you for your next meeting.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it, and I thank you for considering me. I would really love to be a part of the committee.
Yep. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Laura. If you have any questions between now and then, just
Okay, all right. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
You
All right,
too.
thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Now we're behind schedule.
I'm Desiree with been emailing. This is our committee, administration committee.
Hi.
Scott Pierce, John Bogosian, and Rusty. And this is
Hi.
a hot seat.
Oh,
It's
yes.
gonna be fine. And then that's Douglas Carr, our deputy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And Nicole is our city clerk. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
So
no
you have an
problem.
interest in the environmental committee, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, why is that, Lucy?
So I've been a resident here for the larger part of my life since I was 6. I've lived here. And it's really beautiful beaches that we have. And I'm also really interested in like how the government works. And parts of that, I participate in youth in government, which is very fun. And then I also like to see parts of like science and how it relates to how we can help preserve the beautiful beaches that we have here. But yeah.
And you're a student at Porter Grad, yeah? How, what year are you?
I'm a sophomore, so class of 2026.
Okay, yep. And any issue with being able to make it to the meetings? I think they're at like 4 o'clock on the second Tuesday, or the Thursday of the
Thursday.
month.
No, I don't think so. I run cross country and varsity track, but I can probably have an exception for a practice in
Yeah.
comparison to this.
Be a good excuse, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have a meet.
Yeah. Meets are on Wednesdays, so that's good. But
All right, I'll open it up to
Okay, well, thank you. Well, congratulations on being at Porter Gowd. My grandson graduated from there a number of years ago, so
yes.
very good school. It looks like you've been involved in a lot of activities other than varsity track and field and cross country, and you've done some volunteerism, with the Isle of Palms cleanup crew,
Yeah.
mentor with Girls on the Run, so a lot of things you've been involved in. So it's obvious that you like to engage yourself in activities and things that are going to make a difference in a community. And I'm assuming that there's been times that you've been in a group where you have to make decisions collaboratively. And how do you go about building consensus with others when you have an idea you want to advance?
Generally, I like to like just say my whole entire idea and just get it out there. And then everyone
You
else
should run for
usually
council,
has
yeah.
everyone else usually has input, and they're like, "Oh, well, what if you looked at this aspect or this other aspect?" And then generally, I'll like rehash and think over what I can improve about that thing, and then go for a second round and be like, "Hey, what would you think about this if I did it like that?" And then generally, there's like, it'll depend on the thing, but usually we all work collaboratively to make an idea, so it won't be like just specifically mine, but we'll all add in something to make it even better. And that's what I like about collaboratively working on things.
Okay.
Are there any specific projects or things on the island that you've seen as a longtime resident to work on, or you think that we should be addressing from an environmental perspective that are priorities in your mind?
I saw the glass drop off, which I thought was cool because I'm close to the beach, and so sometimes when I'm walking, you'll just see like the recycling bins or trash bins. They're kind of just like a catch-all for everything. I feel like at some points, which can sometimes be an issue. And then also, I live near a beach access point that floods a lot. Like if it rains just a little bit, then it'll get pretty flooded, which I think is. And sometimes we'll make jokes. It's always interesting to see which beach path ends up getting pumped out after like a big rainstorm. Which is fun to see. And then I worked with IOP cleanup crew, and down by Front Beach, that's where a lot of the littering and pollution I feel like happens because it's very tourist heavy. So those are some things that I would say we could look into potentially on the committee.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to say or let us know?
I was wondering, like, when you're in the committee, how does it work? Like, we all come together and we're like, what are the issues? And then we'll come up with solutions? Or do you have to push it through some sort of legislator? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting to see how it works.
I mean, I have some experience with it, so, because I'm the liaison, but there's really 4 areas that the committee, that they're broken up to. One is water quality, wildlife, litter,
What,
climate action, yeah. So those are the 4 subcommittees of the environmental committee, and you'd be working with one of those, and you come up with things you want to work on and come up with actions and solutions, and eventually they'd be taken to council, the city council to approve or to
Okay.
push through.
Thank you. Yeah. That's
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. Just to let you know, there's 3 openings on there, on the committee. And we'll be making nominations to city council on the 5th of December, and then those will be voted on January 2nd. So that's when they'd be approved and finalized.
Okay. Thank you.
And Chair, just for clarification, the 3 vacancies that we have in the Environmental Advisory Committee are 2-year terms.
Yeah,
There are also 3-year terms, but they don't come up until next year. I think one of the tables that we have in the packet indicated 3-year terms, but it's the 3 that we're looking are 2-year terms.
2-year terms, okay. All right, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank
How do
you.
you pronounce your name? Lucia or Lucia? Lucia. Okay, all right, good.
Thank you.
All right,
It's a hard name to pronounce.
Oh, it's not hard for me at all.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
There's somebody else. Not Ted. You hear a gravelly voice. Hey, thank you very much. I'm great. You?
Hi, Ted. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Lick my finger quick before you.
I know, it's okay, I'll just have to wash him now.
I'm supposed to.
Hey, Ted.
The last time I applied for something, and I
Yeah.
didn't do it, so.
How you doing?
Oh, there we go.
Just to give you an idea. Oops, excuse me.
It's all right.
Right in the hot seat,
All right.
front center.
Actually,
I'm usually the person up there asking questions at the last board I'm on, right?
Thank you for coming, Ted.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Ted, thanks for coming again. You're applying for the ATAX, with which there's, 2 openings, right? Desiree, 2 openings on ATAX.
On ATAX, yes, sir.
Yeah,
We have
One's
3,
an
but
at-large.
one member is interested in being reappointed.
yeah, yeah. All right, and so, but you're currently on BOZA.
I am.
And do you have interest in remaining on BOZA?
Now I have an interest in being on ATAX.
Yeah. Because we have plenty of openings on BOZA right now.
I think you got lots of openings on BOZA.
Yeah, 4. With you, it'd be 4. But why do you have an interest in ATAX? Yeah, I mean, this is the second time you've come forward on it. but why-
Exactly. Actually, about the 3rd time, but
Yeah,
that's,
really.
who's counting?
And just for clarification, how many terms have you served on BOZA?
I think this is my first.
It's your first one?
That sound
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
All right,
And it expires in 2025.
all right. So why do you have an interest in ATAX?
I've been coming to the Isle of Palm since 1998, and I started off renting, and I rented a property through 2014. The lady who owned the house lived outside of Pittsburgh, and I basically dealt with her directly. And I kept saying to her, "Why are you enjoying Pennsylvania winters when I'm down here enjoying your house?" And she finally called me and said, "I've taken your advice. I'm selling my house here and moving to Isle of Palms." So 2 weeks later, I ended up owning a house. So I went from being a renter to being a rental property owner. And in 2020, I sold my house in Pennsylvania and became a full-time resident here. So I no longer rent my house here. And when I was renting, as well as being a property owner renting my house, it became very apparent that there is a lot of money that comes off of what is essentially paid for rent. And I began to question why, where was that money going? And I think too often people look at the A-tax money as some thing versus actually coming out of someone's pocket. And whether that's the property owner or the person paying the rent, that's someone's money that if the A-tax didn't exist would be in a private person's pocket. And I question as to where that money goes to and how does that benefit the person who's renting, how does that benefit the person who's the property owner, how does that benefit Isle of Palms? And from what I see, I still have those questions as to where the benefit is. Some of you have heard me talk in the past about the fragile ecosystem of Barrier Island and the need for us to protect that fragile ecosystem. And I think that part of where the ag tax money ought to be going is not only attracting people, but if we're not protective of our island, that golden goose is going to disappear. And that can happen overnight. I think you all had the experience last summer of a shooting on the beach, and my guess is you experienced the same thing I did, which was within a few days, 4 or 5 friends or relatives who were outside of this area called or wrote, and what kind of a wild, wild west place are you living in? And it doesn't take much to turn things around here. We have a sewage system problem here, I think, that needs to be addressed, and we can have a disaster occur very quickly with that people aren't going to want to come and live here in a place that has poison circulating where you have to walk to the beach. I think that's something that A-tax could be addressed to help the Isle of Palms to address that particular issue. I've said how many different times a situation of pickleball courts, and we should be having pickleball courts at the rec center. And we ought to have the A-tax paying for that for quality of life. Probably 6 weeks ago, I happened to be riding my bike down through the middle of the island and going past the rec center, and I saw the pickleball courts being used, and the number of bicycles there with the number of pickleball players all were rental bikes. So obviously, it's one of those things that does attract people to come to this island. So there are a number of ways that I think the A-tax money could be used that, quite frankly, from what I'm aware of, is not being used, and it isn't being used to help on this island. Both the people who we're trying to attract or the people who are the residents here or the island itself. So that is why I want to be on the A-tax board.
So you want to be on there to help direct money into better use on the island.
Yes.
But I'm sure you're aware of the 30% and the 60% requirements of a tax. I mean, how would your participation on the committee change the current allocation of that money? I mean, what would you do to change it?
Well, I'm not sure how the current spending of the money helps the individual property owner. I think there is some help with regards to, say, Wild Dunes Resort. But I'd like to see a breakdown of how much money Wild Dunes Resort and the properties they manage, how much of that goes into the A-tax fund and how much comes from other property owners who are renting their properties. I don't think that the good that comes from that is equal to that. I'm not sure that the amount of money that Isle of Palms puts into the A-tax fund, we get the same benefit back. I appreciate that we ought to have a 10 or 15% cut that goes to the people who, for administration purposes. But after that, we ought to be getting more bang out of a buck here on the Isle of Palms. From what I see and understand, we are not doing that. And that paperwork I just handed out to you, if you take a look at it and take 1 minute, you'll see that not only my adult life, but that's what reflects there, I've had an interest in how do I make my community a better place to live. And as you'll see, I've noted the places on there, it's a wide variety of interests that I addressed. It was also, if you see, I was involved in a leadership position. So it wasn't just simply to attend, I was actively involved in doing things that would make my community better. So that's where I see from my standpoint right now, my best use of my time would be to try to help out with the ATAX money, and I think there's a way that there could be a vast improvement for Isle of Palms with how that ATAX money is used.
I'll open it up to the other.
Yeah, thank you. Ted, thanks for providing us additional information here. Very good. And you certainly have been involved in a lot of things. And with that, I know that you've obviously been in many situations where you are in group deliberations and you have to build consensus among the group. How do you go about doing that typically when you have a point or a project that you want to get across the finish line?
Yeah, let me just point out, I just gave you some words, and a lot of those words I put down there probably don't mean a thing to you, but just as an example, I showed there professionally that I was the district attorney representative on the Pennsylvania Commission on Sentencing. That the Commission on Sentencing is a legislative body. There are 4 legislators on there, there are 4 judges on there, and there's a DA, a defense attorney, and a law professor. I'm the only district attorney in the history of the thing who was the vice chairman, as an example. I was on there 11 years. 10 of those years, I was the chairman of the Guidelines Committee, which is the whole purpose of the thing in the first place. To be the district attorney, to be asked by that group of people to be in a leadership position tells you that they saw that I'm able to bring people together and work together. I was as you saw, on the executive committee of the District Attorneys Association. In that situation, there's 67 counties, big, medium-sized, small, rural, mid-sized cities, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. To be able to get things through, you have to be able to work together. Democrats, Republicans, male, female. I mean, you have to work with everybody. And, obviously, I was in a position they wanted me to be involved, and so I was involved because they saw I could work with people and get things done. That's the history of it. I can point out other things on that list, but historically, that's what you'll see if you read that is you see I'm required to work with people, and so I do. I think if you talk to the people here, you'll see that my efforts on the BOZA board, that's been a great board. We've got along fine. We've made great decisions, and I think you'll see these people reflect, at least I hope that they'd say behind my back that I do a great job on that board and work with other people on the board, as well as the citizens that come before the board.
Thank you.
You do such a good job, I'd like to keep you on it.
Well, thank you very much, but I said at the time, out of all the areas of the law that I went through, that probably my least favorite was zoning, and so I got that.
Well, it sounds like, you're wanting to make the transition to contribute more, I think, getting more involved, and it sounds like that, from BOZA to ATAX, there might be some more involvement. Now, I think a lot of what we've looked at with ATAX, I'm kind of with you on the amount of money that is generated off of the Isle of Palms versus the amount of money that we receive out of that dollar. For every dollar of ATAX, what we receive is a much smaller portion than the dollar, and what we have for discretionary is even much smaller than that. how do we best use that? But also, do we have an opportunity to maybe look at the legislative side of things to, maybe work with some of the other communities to loosen up some of that money? Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yes, I meant to put that in part of my answer back to Rusty, but my understanding was that 35% came about a long time ago when the monies were a lot less than where they are now. And as a result of that, there probably ought to be some things done from a legislative standpoint. And again, from my professional life as district attorney, I was on the executive board. And you may recognize the name Tom Ridge. Tom was the first secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. Tom happened to be a classmate of mine. Tom was an underdog running for governor, and obviously I supported the guy. Tom was smart enough to figure out that jumping on crime issues was beneficial to him politically. And the DA's Association, we had a list of things that needed to be done. He agreed, and after he was elected, before he took office, we met together, went down through a list of things, and he called a special session on crime and got it through. My fingerprints were probably on 80% of that. On sentencing stuff, probably 95% of all sentences for over a decade were mine. Everybody would follow what I'd say, but I was very actively involved. I led the fight in Pennsylvania to have drug treatment as a component of sentencing. We ended up having the best drug treatment in the country, inside or outside, private or public. We had the best, and had to sit there and physically with staff and legislators write the crime legislation that we did. So working with legislators was not anything new. I can clearly tell you it was nothing I would ever want to do. I had several friends who had to do that liaison, and I said, God bless you. I don't know how you do it. But anyway, working with legislators was part of the job and part of normal, and I do think there are things that need to be addressed from a legislative standpoint, and I'd be more than happy to get very actively involved in that.
Thank you, Ted.
Any other questions? Ted, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, I want to get out so you can bring in the next person and have fun with them.
So the process is we'll make recommendations to council for our meeting on December 5th, and then the approval will take of those recommendations or nominations will take place on January 2nd by council.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Ted.
Appreciate it.
Ted, have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, and I can't come to your Christmas party.
Oh, no. I'm gonna miss it.
Oh.
Who's next? Margaret. Oh, she's here, okay.
Right in the hot seat.
How are you?
Hi, y'all. Hey.
Good to see you.
You too. Thank you. Do y'all need my resume or
They
anything?
have it. They have
Okay.
everything, so you're all good.
All right.
Scott stepped away for a quick
We were gonna
second. He'll be
Okay.
right back,
Out, so-
and
All right.
And then we'll do.
they'll have some questions for you. Been having a good day so far?
It's Monday.
I know.
Right before
busy news day?
Thanksgiving. Yes.
Lot of news
It's
today?
just, people still want to have the day off, and real news happens still. And you try to let
Even the week of Thanksgiving.
the young ones understand that, and so we try to do a lot
They
of
want the whole
things to
week
make
off.
it easier. Yeah, and I can't let them know that the rest of the office won't be there. So yes, it's just a lot of that. Yes. Hi, how are you? Hey.
Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
All right, Mary Margaret, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
me.
You're interested in the ATAX committee?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's, on ATAX, just to let you know, it looks like we have 2 openings on there. And so we'll all ask questions, but I'll get started.
Okay.
What's your interest in ATAX?
Well, I really, just want to get more involved, I guess, in the island. I have a lot of friends out here. We live out here, and just a lot of business owners that I'm familiar with my position with ABC News 4. We do a lot with business owners out here, and just helping the community is really how I see it, and I love it out here. And I'm a South Carolina native, and I've moved to Mount Pleasant area right out of college, and then out to Isle Palms, and it's just the best place to live in Charleston, if you ask me. So,
I agree.
yeah.
Do you know about ATAX and some of the
I mean,
requirements
honestly,
and what the committee does?
I don't know everything that you do, but I am, wanting to know more. I haven't served in a government position ever. I have been at the TV station for 21 years. And have been in Charleston all those 21 years. So seeing the news side of everything, that's kind of what I understand. And then the marketing and advertising side. So I am, not going to do that forever. So I'd like to kind of get to know some other sides of things. So it wears on you after 21 years in the business. So, I'd like to look at exploring other aspects and everything. So that's where I am right now. I also manage WPDE, the ABC affiliate in Myrtle Beach. After my time with Sinclair, they said, well, you can do another job. So I have 2 jobs. And I do go to Myrtle Beach once a week and run that station too. So I do manage a $22 million annual budget with my job. A lot of revenue that goes along with that as well to hit cash flow. So, and a lot of employees, about 150 employees. So I do, I'm very involved in that business, that side of the business. But like I said, I would like to look at maybe a 10-year plan of where my life's going to be. And I'd like to retire out here and be out here and just kind of get to know everything more. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right, I'll open it up to the other committee members.
Thank you, John. Mary Margaret, you obviously have a strong background in marketing and executive leadership
Right.
with your background and what you currently do and what you've done in the past. So certainly a marketing position on the ATAX committee would be one that, for me, would be very desirable. Almost feel silly asking this question of you because of your background, but just, you've had to be involved in a lot of group discussions, trying to build consensus on
Right.
different subjects. How would you go about your approach on building consensus with other team members with this role here?
Absolutely. Well, I like to describe my leadership role as a servant leader. That's kind of how I look at it, is I prioritize my team and what they need to be, to grow and to do and to give them what they need to succeed. Really prioritizing that collaborative, fostering that collaborative environment, and then actively listening. I'm not a leader that is commanding. I'm more of a let's guide. I'm going to guide you and help you get to the best other. And that's kind of how I manage my team. So
Okay.
that's how I
You
describe
might
it.
have mentioned this, but have you attended or at least watched some of the ATAX committee meetings?
I haven't
You
before,
haven't?
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done any research on how ATAX dollars are applied, with the split, the 30% that goes to a DMO, the 60% that go for other
Right.
projects, and the 5% I think goes to the general fund, basically?
Right. I don't know how it's distributed, but I do know that, like I said, the marketing piece and the tourism
Mm-hmm.
and everything in there, that's kind of what I could help with there.
Okay. All right.
Sure. Do you have any ideas about any sources or uses of ATAX that might be a priority for the island that you'd be specifically interested in? Or?
Well, like I said, the tourism portion and how to grow that, I'm very familiar with working with that area within my job. So
Growing the ATAX revenue or growing, I'm sorry.
tourism,
Growing, okay.
yeah, because some of the revenues goes into that for marketing, correct?
Say that
For
again?
the island, to promote tourism and everything.
Yes,
too?
we're required, yes. A
Right.
portion of that
Right.
ATAX money is required for
Right.
marketing. Yeah,
Right,
marketing.
right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything, you got anything?
Yeah, one other thing.
Uh-huh.
What's your thoughts about tourism on the island? You've lived here for, what, 3 years
3
now?
years, yeah, but in Charleston
And,
since 99.
you hear phrases thrown around from time to time, the island is full.
Right.
And we know it is during the summer, the high
Right.
season. What's your thoughts on what the needs of developing or growing tourism on Isle of Palms would be?
Right. Well, I also want to mention that we put together the campaign for the past 2 years called Know Before You Go, which helped with all the beach traffic that we heavily promote starting in April through September. And we have Trooper Bob and everybody involved from my TV station. I don't know if you're familiar, if you watch. But we really put together traffic cameras with the DOT, got all of that going so people could know when the best times to come out here are, and then so they understand that. So I really think working with Mayor Pounds and the other mayors as well on some of the other islands. So, that kind of helped me kind of get information here and work together, like I said, of bringing that in. And I think the best thing with the tourism piece is it's definitely manageable, and it seems to be doing a better job lately with the traffic and everything that's going on. So I think that's a big part of it, but just information for everyone and to the best times and to come out here. And so there's, obviously the people from around this area come in, but then all of the other ones outside of the area can range from all across the United States. So it just depends on, and you want to tell your message to the right screen at the right time. So that's really a part of it too. Meaning your phone or your
Just a
TV or your
follow-up
computer.
question on that. I mean,
Right.
just something that you had said earlier kind of sparked. Would you be interested in finding ways to use the money to generate new tourism and additional tourism? Or would you be more interested in finding ways for the Isle of Palms to use the money more effectively? The ATAX money I'm talking about.
I think both. I mean, yeah, I would like to hear more about it, than rather than just make that decision. So,
Do you have any ideas how you'd get up to speed on the legislation and how the ATAX works? And
I mean, I can do that quickly. I'm a quick learner. Like I said, I've taken on another market with my job very fast. It would take me time to. I mean, I would have to be at the meetings and everything too, but I'm very busy. I'm also a mom, and so but I can do a lot, and I always take on a lot. And like I said, I'm not worried about getting up to speed. I get new digital tactics every day that we have to learn, or news is 24/7. I'm on my phone all day long checking email, so I'm not concerned about learning anything new. So, and like I said, this is not my specialty is television, news, and marketing. So that's where I'm from. So but I do have a lot of leadership skills, and I do possess the qualities to listen and to make good decisions with what I do now. So. And I don't
you.
want to be there when I'm 65 doing that. I would love to do something else, so and I would like to get into something else like this. So,
All right,
because it wears on you.
great, thanks for coming in.
24/7.
Yeah, and just to let you know the process, we'll make recommendations
Okay.
for nominations to the council on December the 5th.
Okay.
And then on January 2nd, they'll be voted on.
Gotcha.
That week, all right?
Okay, great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Mel.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I haven't done an interview in a long time. Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
So we're gonna switch and do Dane next, and then
The last one will be on the phone.
Okay.
Mike is joining via Zoom. He said he's good whenever we get to him, so I think Dane's
Okay,
here next.
Dane's up.
Dane says anything, but on his application, it says environmental committee.
Yes.
He said if there's another area that we need somebody to serve, that he would be happy to.
Okay. Do we have something?
Moving on for us. You're right in the hot seat, right up front and center.
Thanks
Hi,
for being
Dane.
flexible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Dane. Thanks for coming in. Yeah. So we have, I guess what you're saying is you're interested in doing anything.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I believe that's what I put on the the form online, but primarily interested in the environmental advisory committee.
Yeah. So that's your primary interest. Why is that why does that interest you?
So one of my greatest passions is preserving the natural environment. I've been really fortunate to have grown up on the coast, as we all live in Charleston here. I'm from North Carolina, a smaller beach town on the Outer Banks, Kitty Hawk.
Yep.
So growing up there, it's very much a part of the social fabric with the awareness for the changing climate and efforts to preserve the environment where we can and as best we can. And I graduated from CFC last year, and I've kind of made the transition into the workforce, just looking for another outlet to be more involved with the community. So.
Great. So the environmental, do you have any specific ideas on environment that you'd like to see to kind of help see improved?
Sure. There's a really cool initiative, and we already have a drop site for composting around Charleston. So definitely on that front, I think it would be really cool if we could see some more, instead of just residential efforts, commercial efforts for that, especially with the restaurants on the beach for Isle Palms and Sullivan's too. So definitely on that front. Aside from that, I don't know what exactly has happened or where it kind of stands, but I believe that there's the Wild Dunes was thinking of expanding and developing on the course on the Intercoastal. I'm not sure what the status of that is, but I was trying to do some research online. I was just curious on what.
Well, right now that can't happen.
Yes.
Okay.
City council adopted some zoning ordinances that limits what they can develop to the current number that exists today.
Okay.
So no additional development.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, I just kind of want to be a little bit more involved with things like that. So.
All right. I'll open it up to the other committee for questions.
Dane, tell us a little bit about your property management, leasing management background. What do you do with that?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I work for Graystar. Work downtown. We are opening a new. It's a new project, an 8-story mid-rise on Romney Street. And so I was recently. I started working there shortly after graduating from College of Charleston. Was promoted to leasing manager and recruited to be on this new project. So we are essentially, I'll do everything from showing people around the property, I do, when investment tours come through, we'll prepare and I'll show the investors around. And then ownership as well. They're heavily involved. And I was in part of doing the construction walks, punch walks, everything from as little as punch walks to kind of overseeing logistics of getting all of the furnishings and really involved with putting everything together. So I've been on that team since April of this year, and we're almost about ready to open the doors next month. So we do a lot of marketing outreach too in the community. We've coordinated campaigns with the brewery that's right next to us that neighbors us is Revelry Brewing Co. We were the main sponsor of their annual block party. It brings thousands of people through that part of town every year. This is their 9th year running. So I was coordinating that with the owners at Revelry, our ownership, getting all the logistics for that together. So we do pretty much a lot of stuff, marketing, sales, all that good stuff.
Well, it sounds like you conduct a lot of meetings, you're in a lot of meetings and that sort of thing, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, especially at this point in the stage where we don't have residents on site and we're not operating on site either. So a lot of my time is spent on calls or doing outreach and in meetings with partnerships that we're trying to curate for our future residents for the property.
Okay, and how do you go about building consensus when you have a meeting like that? You're getting the group together and trying to get them to coalesce around an idea or ideas that you have. How do you do that?
Well, I've quickly learned that it can be very difficult. But there's never a dull moment, for sure, especially with something as high stakes as a brand new construction. So it has been very interesting. I've gotten the opportunity to sit in on the calls as well with senior leadership and when my boss has been absent. So conveying ideas, sometimes things get lost in translation, but other times people can all come together on it after a lot of convincing and compromise. But at the end of the day, it's, especially when people come together for, a single effort, the end goal is, in this situation, is to get people in the building as quickly as possible. And, if you have to redraft proposals over and over again until the city will approve it, and we have to make installs that we weren't planning for. It can be a long process sometimes, but at the end of the day, if the end goal is the same, everybody will figure out a way to come together.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to bring us back to the environment. Sure. What do you see are some of the biggest challenges on the Isle of Palms environmentally, and with the committee? Their job is to kind of help, I think, in 4 different categories to take a look at these things and then maybe make some proposals for council that might be actionable. Anything come to mind? And I know you mentioned the composting, but anything that you see on the island, having been here for a few years now, that is really just kind of one of our biggest challenges?
I definitely think, especially recently, the beach erosion is a huge challenge for everything. And I'm very green to all of this, so I don't have much knowledge of the inner workings of the city government. That's in part why I'm here today. But I definitely see that that's a major challenge. And it looks like people have figured out a way to mitigate it. So I'd love to learn kind of how that happens, what goes into making that come to fruition.
Great.
So yeah.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say?
What exactly, kind of on that topic, what is the primary function of the advisory board?
John, you want to?
Of the environmental committee?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's broken up into 4 areas. I may need some help again, but litter, wildlife,
Water
water quality, and the climate.
Climate.
And so there's subcommittees on there, and each one come up with, ideas or actionable items to improve on certain conditions in each of those subcategories. And then they're brought to council for final approval. But just, a kind of a working group to help make improvements in the environment on the island.
And this year, the city implemented 2 recommendations that have come out of from the Environmental Advisory Committee. One is a pilot program on glass recycling, and another one composting as well.
Okay.
So they're just examples of things that come out from the committee that council then approves and implements.
Is the glass recycling, is that any association with the company Fisher?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Down in Buford, okay.
Mhm.
Mr. Fisher's a good family friend of my mom's. They actually grew up together in Charlottesville.
Oh, wow.
So that's really cool that they're working their way up here in Charleston.
Mhm.
But yeah, and even, I know kind of in part, just upcycling in general, that company also has a branch where they take the oysters from restaurants around town, and they will make them into concrete countertops. So it's really, really cool. But that is all I have today.
Well,
All
thanks
right.
for your time.
Well, thanks for your time, and we have, they just sort of the process, will take nominations to the council on December the 5th, and then those will be voted on January the 2nd.
All right.
All right? Thanks for your interest, and thanks for showing up.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You as well, sir.
Take care.
Ready?
So our last one is Mike Boykin, and he's gonna
Mike
be.
Boykin.
Is the tiny screen okay?
Yeah,
Tiny screen right up here?
yeah, it's fine.
Hey, Ray,
I can do it right.
how are you? Good, good,
Hey,
good.
Ray.
Hey, Rusty.
A book?
Right.
Douglas, would this help at all? No, you got that, oh, that's right, we used that before.
Hello, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Douglas with the city, and you're here with the administration committee.
Do we put a microphone on him?
Hey,
or-
everybody.
Hey, Mike.
Afternoon.
So thanks
I just-
for,
I had to pull over off the side of the road. I knew you guys were calling, so if you hear external noises, it's not normal.
no problem. So thanks for taking the time. You're interviewing for the ATAX committee, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's a committee of 3 of us here. We'll ask questions to you. But my first one is, why do you have an interest in ATAX?
Well, for the last 40 years, I've been in the sports and entertainment industry and have been very blessed to go to every kind of event, convention you can think of across the globe, but a lot in the U.S. And as a proud resident of Isle of Palms, I believe I could bring a different perspective, with some of the things that I've seen, some of the relationships I have, depending on directionally where we want to go with hospitality and events. And I know there's been some things that have worked well, and I think if you wanted to expand it to some other areas, I could be an asset to the team.
Okay, what areas of that are you thinking?
When you're trying to drive tourism or people to come visit the island for extended periods, I think there's a writer that does a conference for her readers down at Wild Dunes. I don't know if there's a pickleball convention or a trading card convention or the possibilities are really limitless. It's just understanding what we are trying to achieve and what would be good for the island and exploring it. Again, being part of the team.
All right, I'll open it up to others.
Okay, thank you. Mike, this is Rusty Streetman. How are you today?
Hey, Rusty.
Just a question or two. You obviously have a strong background, not only as a CEO, but also a marketing background also, involved in a lot of things, and great resume that you sent along with your application. How do you go about in group discussions, building consensus during the deliberations that you're having, and how do you do that to get the group to go along with any ideas that you may have that you'd like to put into effect?
Well, Rusty, that's a great question. I'd say sometimes better than others. But the approach is to let everybody have an opportunity to speak. And what I found in our internal teams, not clients, is I believe everybody has something of value to add to it, or they bring a different perspective based on where they are in their life or their background or history or passions. And so I like to listen to everyone, and then at the end, when we come to a decision, be very transparent. This is why we're doing it. This is we call them KPIs, key performance indicators. These are the 3 KPIs, and we believe these strategies and these tactics that we have developed will help us optimize against those KPIs. And generally, Rusty, we get people nodding their head. They may not always be happy, but they understand, and they appreciate having a voice and participating and getting a better understanding of maybe some areas that they didn't understand.
Okay.
With clients, it's different. With clients, the rules vary by organization and structure. A strong CEO with a bunch of yes people, they act one way. Collaborative environments act another way. I mean, it's across the board.
Okay. Thank you. As a follow-up, what got you interested in applying for the ATAX committee, and have you watched or attended any of their meetings in the past?
No, I have not. I've become more interested in island government, island governance and politics, in the last year or two. I've been on the island a long time, first at Mariners Walk and now with a home on Cameron for close to 20 years. And in 2020, I got remarried, and we decided to make Isle Palms our primary. And so I started paying attention to a lot more things. And I don't know the inner workings sometimes of all these different organizations, but my career has been built on adjusting to the stakeholders involved and learning and doing. Preparation is key in our business. I talk about that all the time. That's the number one thing. And so if I was part of this team, I would try to prepare as best I could by reading everything, viewing things. And I've looked at a few documents and made a few phone calls. But, I also run a business right now. So and this is a very, very busy part of the year. But I believe I can manage both. The other thing I think that I might bring to bear for the island is I sit on a couple of Dean's Leadership Councils in South Carolina, and one is the Hospitality, Retail, and Sports School. And I have for several years, 4 or 5 years.
Sorry, Mike, what was that again?
A lot of people.
Mike, could you repeat that? Scott Pierce was having trouble. I think you said the Hospitality, Retail, Sports Management.
Yes, at South Carolina, I'm on the Dean's Leadership Council. Dean Sagas, who's the new dean, and I have already bonded. I have access to a lot of the schools and professors and information they have that I think, again, depending on what we're trying to achieve, that to me is the key. I know we get some money, and some money goes to Charleston to promote the region, and optimizing the money that stays on the island and realizing there's potentially a lot of different ways to spend it. I think that would be helpful. And I sit on Charlotte Sports Commission, so I see what they do and how they go about trying to bring new events, and whatever level of event, amateur, professional, or business. I would like to help the island in whatever way I can.
Okay, I'm gonna turn you over to Scott now.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned events, and it sounds like that's a good deal of your background. Are there, what kind of potential do you see for the Isle of Palms as far as promoting more events or different kinds of events on the island?
Scott, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and while it might not be the major sports, there's just a lot. And I halfway was kidding with pickleball. I can't believe the number of people I've met down there who play. We were just in Dallas at the national event, and we have 2 clients that have chosen to invest there. You know, golf and tennis make sense there, but are there beach sports? Are there, the bridge run is good. I would look at everything, and is there a combination of sport and entertainment? Is there a charity piece that we want to promote? There's a lot of things that I would explore, and we kind of have a valuation model that we develop for our clients and looking at events. And it would be the same thing. What are our capacities? What are the restrictions? What's going to fit in our swimming pool so we can kind of start drilling in? And then do we want to start on a regional level, southeast level, a national level? Do we want to try to go for something international? And having been in this thing a long time, I tell people all the time, if I can't get to somebody with one phone call, it's generally 2. I can call somebody who knows them, and we can at least have a conversation and find out, what's the criteria for the event. Again, whether it's a participation type event, or if it's a conference, of leadership from the SEC or the ACC or college football playoffs. They have meetings everywhere. Why would we not pursue some of those kinds of things?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add in closing, Mike, or?
No, I just love the island. It's my home. It's where my heart is, and it has been for a long time. I just have this thing called work. I've got to take care of stuff. But, when I come down there, I feel like I'm a different human being, and I want to be a giver. I do a lot of charity work here to try to make this community better. Tomorrow, we'll see the folks from Feeding the Hungry, and we got 2,000 turkeys that will be cooking with 14 churches and distributing. Charlotte Sports Plus Business is a group I started in 2008 where we bring, hundreds of people together each month. We could have Low Country Sports Plus Business, and it could be at Isle of Palms. And if you've been to Sullivan's or Isle of Palms, there's a lot of coaches, a lot of administrators, a lot of owners. I get fired up about it because I love it, and I would want to make it even better. And if that helps, then, I have a pretty good batting average.
All right, well, thank you for your interest and your time. Just to let you know, the process will be submitting nominations for these to council on December 5th, and then they'll be voted on January the 2nd.
Well, great. I appreciate the consideration.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a good day.
You too.
So that concludes our interviews. By the way, Ray, the schedule was changed. I assume you came here to hear the ATAX, and the schedule was changed, so we went a little early.
They're moving quick.
At least you heard one. So I think we'll go into executive session to entertain these, and then we'll come back out. So we'll go into executive session in accordance with section 30-4-70A1 to discuss candidates for appointment to the city's board and commissions. Do I have I make a motion that we do that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?